So today we've got Mike Cichy with us. So Mike, thank you very much for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So again, we're just going to start from the beginning with you. You grew up in New Britain, Connecticut. Tell us a bit about New Britain.
Well, that's cool. You went way back on me. I was born in New Britain. Lived there till I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and it's a hard city. It's a hard working. They call it hard hitting New Britain because it's in the meat of Connecticut, right outside of Hartford there, and my whole family's from there. I grew up there. I still go back a lot of times in the summer to see all my family there. So most of my roots are still there. It's definitely where I was born, but I grew up more in like the New Hartford, Colebrook region where I am now, and that's more of like middle of the forest, kind of woodsy type of thing. So I had two different worlds growing up, and had a transition along the way.
Yeah, I think New Britain's got the not the reputation, but it's got a very significant Polish population, and we'll bring it. So that's
that's why my family ended up being there, right? Because it's besides Chicago, I think it's the most Polish people in any city in America. So my grandmother and my mom was born in Poland. They came off the boat and landed in New York there at, is it Ellis Island?
Yep.
Okay. So they came off the boat there, and they moved their family to New Britain with nothing in their pockets. They worked as hard as they could their whole lives, and then 20, 30 years later, I was born. So my mom, she was born there. She's full Polish. I have my Polish roots, my Polish passport. Played there forever. So it's very Polish family. We eat pierogies and kielbasa on Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners.
Yeah, cool. Connecticut as a state, probably not one of the most spoken about or recognised of the states in the US for hockey.
No.
You've got to be one of the M's, haven't you? You've got to be Minnesota, Michigan,
Absolutely.
Massachusetts. But what was the hockey scene like for you in the 90s growing up as a kid in Connecticut?
It was weird because, like you said, it's not a hockey place at all. We had the Whalers back when I was a kid, so that we had season tickets. My dad played a little goalie when he was a kid, so it kind of got me into hockey, just like because we would watch it together kind of thing. And then at like 5, 6 years old, I got a flyer to like learn to skate, and I went out there and they wouldn't give me a stick, so I said, this isn't for me. I was bored of skating in a circle, so I quit. And then at 8 years old, I was able to, like, my dad's like, hey, you can play with a stick this time, and I was like, all right, let's try it again. And then I loved it ever since, and kind of took to it quick and stuck with it. But yeah, Connecticut, not much hockey. There's a few of us that come out of there. I know Ben Smith, like Max Pacioretty, like a couple NHL guys that have come from there, but Cam Atkinson's also from that area, but they're all near New York, but definitely not a big hockey state for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Whalers. Now I think the Whalers probably left for Carolina in '97. So did you ever get?
It might have been
Whalers?
'95 even, but I was at their last home game.
All right, okay,
yeah, we
cool.
had season tickets. I don't remember when I was a kid, but maybe it's making me sound old now. But I was at the Whalers' last home game, and I'd go with my dad. We wait for autographs outside, so I think the love of hockey kind of started there and went from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other one I was going to ask you about, and this would be when you were a teenager, and not for the right reasons, but Danbury had a team for a couple of seasons, the Danbury Trashers. I suspect you didn't get along to watch them, did you?
No, I never seen them, but I've watched the documentary, the Netflix documentary. Crazy story, but my best friend actually ended up playing for Danbury, but after they were the Trashers. I think they were the Whalers at that point, Danbury Whalers. But he ended up being there, and that's got me more into the story to really look into it. But that was crazy. Connecticut's probably most infamous hockey team for sure.
Indeed. So you start off in AAA with the Boston Junior Bruins. So how did that step come around?
That was like, I got to give all the credit to my parents because I was kind of growing out of Connecticut hockey. Like I was, like the competition level wasn't very high, and my dad knew right away I had to get out of there. And Boston was the closest thing to us, but still a 2.5 hour drive to practice. So like my parents, I'm getting out of school, getting straight in the van. We're driving up to practice 2.5 hours away, getting home 1, 2 in the morning, waking up for school the next day and doing it all over again. And they're getting up going to work. My mom's going at 4:30. She gets home at 1 in the morning. So they were the heroes that I wouldn't be here without them. They they would sacrifice so much to get me through hockey. My mom would take me practice 2 days a week. My dad got the games on the weekend, so he had more of the fun stuff. But that's where the competition was. That's where I can grow and get better. So they knew that, and they sacrificed for me. So I was really lucky.
Yeah. And after that kind of AAA couple of years, you moved to Ann Arbor in Michigan to play for the US National Development Team.
Yep.
I'm always interested how you recruited into that particular organization.
I just remember my dad talking to them, and they would show up randomly at tournaments. They'd have the USA jackets on. I'd be at like a Bantam major tournament, a big tournament. You know, a lot of guys are there, Tavares, Stamkos, like good American players, good Canadian players, and you'd look in the stands and know they were there, and you give your dad a nod like, this is a big one, you know, you got to show your stuff. So they'd come to maybe 5, 6, 7 games, and they'd be randomly there. Just they scouted all over the country like that, the biggest tournaments, and then you get an invitation to the Final 40 camp, and there'd be 40 guys at a tryout, and then that gets cut in half, and that's your team. So
Yep.
I was fortunate enough to make that, and then only did it for a year.
Yep.
Wanted to try the USHL. Was a little homesick. It was first time being away from home, so it was the USHL was kind of calling my name. I already had the offer from North Dakota, so I wanted to kind of get a little more exposure there, and just the fit wasn't quite right.
Yeah, yep. Do you remember some of the guys that were with you that year in the in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I remember most of them.
So I mean, I've just picked out the guys that played for NHL teams, but I mean, obviously you've got James Van Riemsdyk and Kevin Shattenkirk and Ian Cole, Matt Rust, people like that. So you know, a really decent level of play with that group of guys.
Yeah, no, it was really good hockey. Learned a lot, got a lot stronger. That was where you really started lifting weights heavy, and you're doing cleans, max cleans before the game, and like hitting, fighting. Like it really prepares you and kind of turns you into a man faster than you probably would have been. So it definitely upped my game a lot. Playing with those guys, you got to play up to their level. So it was tremendous honor to be picked even, and to have a chance to see those guys play. And Patty Kane was there the year before. He had just finished, so he came in, would talk to us sometimes. So it was very like you get treated like a pro when you're 16 years old. So it was like a good step up and like a learning curve.
Yeah, and you mentioned then the USHL. So you went to Tri-City, which is in Nebraska, isn't it?
Yeah, Kearney, Nebraska.
So you're heading kind of pretty much Midwest.
Yeah.
You're getting further west, further away from home. So you did really well with Tri-City. You were top scorer in your first season.
Yeah.
Led the scoring in the second season.
Yeah.
And well, I'll take you back to the end of the first season, because actually the end of the first season with Tri-City, you were draft eligible.
Yep. Got passed on that year.
Yeah.
And I think talking to scouts and stuff, I was supposed to get drafted, but I wasn't like crazy high. But had a decent year, but our team was losing a lot. So the minuses in the defense, they really wanted me to clean up. And our team, we weren't very good. I mean, I had a lot to learn still. I was still young and definitely needed to improve. So I think when I got traded to Indiana the following season, and we went on that championship run, I had the World Junior Challenge that year, did really well. So that, doing all that kind of together, maybe second year draft eligible, getting picked, which is kind of rare, but was kind of the year of my life in juniors. Like everything couldn't have gone better. So
yeah. I mean, you're right. The Indiana half season, you had 47 points in 30 games, and 24 of those on the power play.
Yeah.
But you also led the whole USHL in postseason as well with points, and that obviously got you back on the radar for the draft in Montreal.
Absolutely. And it's the players you play with too. I had our point guy on our power play was Torrey Krug, so in juniors. So having a guy like that up there really made it easy to get points. I was kind of the shooter, he was the quarterback, and we had some good chemistry up there. So it's sometimes it's who you play with, but also you got to earn it too.
Yep. So for that draft at the Bell Centre in Montreal, you'd been passed over, you said, the year before. What were your expectations, if anything?
Oh, it's kind of a funny story, because I wasn't even there. I went on a religious retreat tubing to get my mind off it. And I was on the water for maybe 4 or 5 hours with a couple of my buddies. We were just tubing, having a good time, relaxing. And I get back to the beach, and I got like 30 missed calls, and I'm like, what happened? And all numbers I don't know. And then first one was from my agent. He's like, Mike, you have been drafted. And my heart dropped. Everyone there was like celebrating for me. It was a crazy experience, but very fun.
Yeah. I read a little bit about that. That you'd kind of just gone off and
just get my mind away from. Because the year before I watched the whole thing,
Yeah.
and to watch you just not get picked because I was expected to and just never get picked, and it's like I couldn't take that for another year. So I was like, I'm not watching it this year. I did everything I could on the ice. I left it out there, and then ended up finding out after, which I think was better.
But for the volume of kids who go through, junior hockey in both Canada and America, to be drafted at all is quite an achievement.
Tremendous honor. No, it's I'll always respect and thank Montreal for that. And if I had a better college career, I might have had a chance to maybe do something there. But just to get picked and selected and recognized by them was an honor of a lifetime, and I'll never forget it.
So you mentioned college there. So at that point, I guess you've got some options, and you chose the NCAA. I'm guessing obviously NCAA was an option because you still had eligibility there.
Yep.
You hadn't played major, junior, or anything. You had two stops in the NCAA. North Dakota was your first. So the chosen route.
So that was. Like you said, I did have a lot of options coming out of juniors because of the year I had, and I went on some visits. I went to Colorado, I went to Notre Dame, I went to Denver, and I visited BC and like checked out all the big schools that I was interested in. My mom obviously wanted me to take BC or BU, something like that, closer to home. But my heart, when I went on the visit to North Dakota, saw the rink, saw the facilities, and saw how professional it was. It's just like I couldn't say no to it. I went to a game there. Jonathan Toews, TJ Oshie were playing, and it was just like love at first sight. Like it's hard to say no to a place like that. And the other option was major junior, which I was very close to going to Halifax. They drafted me in the Q, and ended up taking the college route. Wanted the education for free. I thought that was something that I needed, it was important to me, and NCAA was growing so much, still is, and I thought it was the best route for me, and then ended up at North Dakota. Just I got there thinking like, it's going to be like juniors. I'm going to play like first liner, like I have been, and then I get there and I was like, oh yeah, I was drafted, but so was 21 other guys, and they were drafted higher, so you really had to earn it, and wasn't playing as much as I would have liked, and Jeff Blashill was the coach at Western Michigan. I know I'm probably transitioning into another question here, but I'll get right into it. He was the head coach at Western Michigan. He's who I played for in Indiana, for the Indiana Ice. And he's like, Cichy, come over. You're going to play. You're going to play a ton. Like, let's do this. Like, let's transfer. I'll give you a full ride, even like for your redshirt year, the year you have to take off. And I'm like, okay, done. I want to play for you, Blash. Like, he got the most out of me in my career. Like, he knew how to get me going. So decommit from North Dakota, commit to Western Michigan, and then maybe a week later, Blashill calls me and says, Mike, I got a job with the Red Wings. I have to take it. So I said, all right, like I kind of left for you, but it is what it is. And then ended up not playing the hockey that I was expecting to play there, but it was still, Western's my alma mater. I'll always remember that place.
Yeah, I'm a fairly big Wings fan, and I wish Jeff had stayed where he'd stayed.
Yeah,
and coached.
He didn't have the horses, but he's a heck of a coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
He, very well respected, and as you say, it was a transitional team that he had in Detroit. So
right.
It was a case of just keeping things moving along.
Yeah.
It takes a while in the NHL if you're on a rebuild, etc.
Absolutely.
And they're still kind of rebuilding as we speak.
You get
today,
Scotty Bowman, he's not going to make that team win.
No,
it takes time.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. So you kind of mentioned about being blown away by the setup in North Dakota. You've mentioned before that the Ralph Ingolstadt Arena is your most favourite arena to have played in.
Yeah.
But I think college hockey in general, it's a great atmosphere in a lot of those rinks.
It is.
A lot of fun.
It is, because the best part about college is you got the student sections, right? And they're rowdy college kids that want their school to win more than anything. So like they push the punch, and the student section is so loud. You got the band going up top. You got everyone screaming at the top of their lungs. Like it's the most electric atmosphere you can kind of be around. Whereas pro hockey is awesome. The fans are great, but it's just, you don't get that student atmosphere who probably had one too many beers at the game, just as loud as they can be over there, prime of their lives kind of thing, screaming and yelling. So it was a different world for sure.
So one of those places which I've visited quite a bit actually is Yost Arena back to Ann Arbor.
Yep.
So as a visiting player with Western going into Yost, how was that?
Yost was awesome. They get a big crowd. Their fans were awesome. I actually saw at the Big House too. I watched football games there when we were in Ann Arbor, so I got to see a lot of that campus. But unbelievable school again. Had a chance to go there, but still picked North Dakota over it because it was just. The Ralph Ingles said, you never see anything like it. Like, it's better than they say half the NHL rinks. And it's just, you're treated so pro. You got a chef on there. You got full hot tubs in the locker room, steam room, saunas, big gym across the hall. Like, anything you could need to improve yourself, it's sitting right there. And you got the key card to get in whenever you want. So there's no excuse not to get better there.
Yeah, I've not got that far west on my NCAA trip yet, but I'll get there someday.
That's one to stop at if you get a chance.
But Western, again, you had some decent players in there with you. And I'm just picking out guys that, were obvious to me because they played for the Wings. But Danny DeKaiser, I think he was the captain, was he?
He was assistant the year I was there. And then I think he wore the C for a little bit if our captain got hurt, something like that. But I played with Danny, lived with Danny. He left a year early, but one of my best friends this day, I went golfing with him this summer, and I still see Danny a lot. Heck of a defenseman.
He was.
He was.
He was probably a bit unlucky with injury.
Yeah, he was. But he did his job. He was never going to go in and score 20 goals.
Nope.
Like, he was a solid stay-at-home D-man that's going to keep pucks out of his net and break the puck out perfectly.
I bought a Danny DeKaiser jersey.
It's
one of my Wings jerseys. He was as you say, not a fancy guy.
No.
Did his job and played a ton of games.
And that's why. And as an undrafted player, he had 27 NHL teams offering him out of college. Everyone wanted him. So he was just steady Eddie. He's what every teams need. Like, he's not going to run the power play, but he's going to keep pucks out of his net and break you out every time.
Before we leave college, what did you study during the?
I went through a lot actually, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. But me as an outdoorsman, I ended up settling on recreation and tourism, and that might have been more of a hockey decision too. But I would love to anything like outside fishing guide, park ranger. That's up my alley. I'm a redneck at heart, and so I chose that. I settled on a philosophy minor because I'm a thinker, and it kind of interested me, and that was my minor. But settled on that. I started in business, went to physics, and then I switched finally into recreation tourism. So
enough to keep you interested.
Exactly.
And cover
I dabbled in about everything, like Van Wilder.
So you're now at the end of your NCAA career. You're now 24, and again, I guess you've got choices to make: professional hockey, North America or Europe. And quite clearly, Europe won out. So again,
well, I did start in. I started in Florida with the Everblades.
That's right, yeah.
I was there for like 2 months, got released, and then I got a call on my drive home from, I didn't even know the guy at the time. He's been my agent for 11 years now, Rafał Masta. And he calls me randomly out of the blue. He sees my last name. He goes, "Hey, are you Polish?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I saw your last name. He goes, "You got any Polish roots?" I'm like, "Yeah, my mom was born there." He goes, "Perfect. You want to come play in Poland?" I said, "Yes, let's go." I was done with my career for a good week there, and I thought hockey was over. And he called me, ended up driving out to the airport maybe a week later, and then the rest was kind of history from there. But it was a funny story how I got out there.
a fortunate but positive accident almost.
Absolutely. Best thing that probably happened to me.
Things are meant to happen
sometimes,
in a particular
right?
Sometimes, Excuse me. So, so you arrive in Poland and you're going to spend quite a bit of time in Poland, but your kind of first 3 years. So is it Sanok?
Sanok was first, yeah.
Yep. And Opole after that.
Opole, Orlik Opole.
And they don't exist anymore.
No, they folded. Their owner was a little corrupt.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Hey.
But he loved me and my roommate, so we got treated well there. But it was that team was bound to fold. But it was got me started. I think that's what really made my name there, and then going to GKS Cichy was really where like the meat of my career was. And
Sure.
yeah.
But back to Sanok in your first team, one of the most, well, a very colourful character in hockey, a chap called Mike Danton, and for anybody who doesn't know the Mike Danton story, then we won't go into it just now, but you can go away and Google it. But yeah, a Mike Danton story perhaps?
Yeah. So I ended up the first year, my first day in Poland, that Rafał Master guy tells me, oh, by the way, you're living with Mike Danton. So I'm like, who's that? I didn't know the story. And he goes, just look him up. So I watched the E60. Like anyone listening, just look up the E60, look up the Google Mike Danton. So that made me a little hesitant, my mom a little hesitant. But then once I moved in with him and met the guy, he was an unbelievable guy. But the first night we get there, he's bringing me back to the place, and there's just a baseball bat of 3 Polish people fighting on the street, and he pulls over, starts filming it. I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? I go, where am I right now? And that was the only time I ever saw a fight in Poland, was the first night pulling in there. But like, first time in Europe, well, actually second, but I was young when the first time I went. First time living in Europe, and I was scared out of my mind, living with Mike Dan, who, like, the story of him just scared me enough. And I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? And I'm glad I stuck with it, but it was definitely a colorful start.
An introduction and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you were top scorer on those teams, and year 2 in Poland, you got the call for the national team.
Yep. Got the call. You can't say no, really, and I got my passport at that time. So it was Mike Danton and I actually were the first 2 North Americans to get selected for that team, and then John Murray with us after that shortly. So we went over there and did our best. A lot of political things. I don't want to get into too much with that over there, but I think they're in a better place now than they were back then. Just with lies and stuff like that. So it was more of I had to kind of retire from that. So I think it was after my 4th or 5th year. Ted Nolan and Tom Coolin actually coached me. They convinced me to try one more year of it, and then from their point of view, it was awesome. I loved it there. Playing for Teddy, playing for Tom, kind of reinvigorated my national team like hopes. But then the management, the way they did it, it just didn't work out anymore. So that's all I'll say about that. But it was definitely an awesome experience to play for them. I would have done it for years upon years if it went differently, but definitely an honor to be selected for your national team for sure. Yep. Especially your mom's home country, and then my home country, I guess, after that for a while.
Yeah. I know another move, and this is the move that you spoke about earlier too. It's pronunciation Cichy?
Cichy, yeah.
Yeah. So 5 seasons with Cichy, and again, first couple of seasons, things are kind of still rolling along, top scorer, etc. Champions League, Champions Hockey League, and 2018-19. Do you remember this being voted the best goal?
Yeah,
in the 2018-19
the Champions League, right? Yeah, I do remember that.
Can you describe it? I've watched it, so I know.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember it. It was, I kind of blacked out. Like, I don't even know why I did it. If you gave me that chance again, I probably wouldn't have tried that. But it was, like, just kind of reaction. My roommate, Alex Shahura, had made a heck of a backhand play to me, and he hit me on my backhand in front of the net. And my reaction was, I can't score on my backhand here. The goalie's lined up, so just throw it between your legs and put it back against the grain. And it ended up going in. I used to see my face after it. I'm as shocked as anyone that worked out. But I thank the fans and people of TE for voting for me, because I'm pretty sure the goal of the year was a vote off, and our fans really came together and rose up and got me that. So it was another tremendous honor, a high point, and something I'll always remember.
Yeah, it's one of these ones where if it goes in, you're a hero. If it doesn't, you're a zero.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit like trying to do the Michigan.
Exactly.
So
it's got to go in, and luckily for me, it did.
Yeah. And we're now round about the time where the pandemic strikes.
Yeah.
So hockey in Poland during the pandemic seemed to survive a bit better than most places. Is that true? Was it kind of normal without being normal?
That's a good way to put it. Normal without being normal. There were no fans for full season, so that was unbelievably weird. Never got, like, even when you're playing mite hockey, the parents are in the stands, you hear something up there, but to play in dead silent rinks with no music, no fans, it was a completely adjustment period for all of us. It made hockey very different, but the fact that we didn't miss any games, the season went on as scheduled, was we were lucky about that, and we still got to compete at the highest level there in Poland. So that was good. But the empty rinks were just made it very hard to get up for games, I guess, a little bit. And if fans listening, like, you really are the reason we play the game. Like, seeing a full rink of you guys really motivates us to get more excited about hockey and to want to do our jobs at the highest level. And when you're not there, kind of take it for granted sometimes. When you get a season like COVID and notice that no one's there, it changes a lot, and you realize how important the fans really are to you.
Sure. So 5 seasons and with Cichy and 3 championships.
Yep, first 3 years we three-peated, so that was it's an experience not a lot of people get. And when you're winning, like, it's like the old cliche, those are your brothers for life. And I still talk to those guys, and we remember those championships better than anything. So something, probably definitely the highlight of my hockey career. Winning the first one was amazing, and then you get 2 more in a row. It's almost dynasty, and something you'll never forget. And you're bonded with those guys forever.
Yeah. And at the end of those 5 seasons, you still had another couple of seasons in Poland before you came over to Fife. Was there a particular reason for making a move after that, or again the circumstances?
The way TE is if you're not winning, you're no good. They're the highest budget team in the league, so they expect to compete every year. And we lost 2 seasons in a row. I think one in the quarterfinals, one in the semis, maybe both in the semifinals. But once you lose like that and the season doesn't go as they plan, and they had new ownership as well, it was time for them to move on. We had our 5 years there, which was great. So then they wanted to move on. I think we all kind of did, tried Uniosvenchim, which was the city Auschwitz is in. That was my next step. And
glad you pronounced that, because I couldn't get my tongue around that. Yep.
Yeah, Uniosvenchim was it was a tough place to live, like, because just the history of what happened there. And we got treated great there. It was nothing but good things to say about the management and the players, but just living in a city like that really took a toll on you. You drive by the camp to go to the gym every day. Like, you literally see it. It's all around you. And people there are not usually there for vacation visiting. They're visiting for religious reasons, for stuff like that. So it was definitely a tough place to live. I couldn't do more than a year of it, but I'm glad to say I did it. And it's a place you definitely want to see, but you only want to see it once,
Yeah. And then the redneck part of you came out when you went to Podhala?
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
Is that the Polish Highlands? Sometimes call that.
Yeah, so, in the Tatra Mountains. I always wanted to live in the mountains. We had a good opportunity there. Unfortunately, the money management didn't work out. The first person there was, she was, I can't think of her name right now, which you have to look it up, but she was unbelievable. And she kind of she was like a woman in a man's job, and they forced her out, and she would do anything for us. And then they got new management, and that kind of sent the team into a frenzy where they didn't have any money anymore. So this year, I bet you saw that they kind of folded up shop. So I had the opportunity to go back and chose Tommy and coming to Fife for this year, just because I think Poland was 10 years was a decade was enough, and definitely wanted to try something new before I wrapped my career up. But that was the end of my Polish story, because I wanted to go to the Tatra Mountains and try something like that at the end,
Yeah. But in terms of hockey in Poland, a bit of a legacy in terms of points.
Yeah.
So well remembered and well respected across the Polish Hockey League.
No, absolutely, and I credit so many people for that, but my roommate Alex Shahura, my agent, for getting me over there, the teams that believed in me, put me in those positions. But to look back on it, it was a tremendous honor, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. And the way it went, Poland will always have a special place in my heart, and I'll probably go back for years to come and visit, because I know it so well now. I got to learn to speak it pretty well, and just very, very grateful for that country.
Yep, sure. Last couple of questions, and it's always a difficult one to ask a player, but however many years you still have playing the game left, there will come a point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what do you have any aspirations or thoughts about what you'll do after playing?
Yeah, I do. I do have a couple things. I coach a lot in the summers now, and I'm teaching kids, and it's funny once you get on the other side of it, like you've been a player your whole life, and then you start seeing these young players starting their journeys, and like I'm on the other side trying to show them what I know, but like I remember being a player at that age, you know it all, right? Like, so I'm trying to get, it's like a fine line balance of like not over teaching them, but giving them the tools to succeed so they figure it out on their own. And that's kind of where I'm at with these young guys, trying to get them that. But it's weird being on the other side, but I definitely think staying in hockey, especially because Connecticut is, it's such a small hockey place. So like, having the resume that I've created over the years really gives me a head start in the coaching world over there, and I'm going to try to take and run with it, and don't know how far I can go yet. That's just starting.
Yeah, and I think that probably answers, or you've kind of alluded to the answer to my final question, but I mean, you've been in Europe for so long, but it sounds like North America is going to be home once the playing career's finished.
No, 100%. North America's home. My girl's there, my parents are there, all my family, friends, and made some great connections over the years in Poland, but none that I would stay for over that, you know. And I got my dog there. She's the most important, Lucy.
Got to follow the animals.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike, thank you very much for your time. That was great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep,
Cheers.
Good talk.